If someone tells you Sonic's first 3D game was Sonic Adventure, they probably don't know what they're talking about or are way too young for you. Because obviously before all this, there were all of these that people really love to complain about. But it gets a little more complicated because Sonic's actually been in 3D way longer than people realize. And I'm not just talking about this, or this, or this, but if you really think about it, Sonic's first game ever was actually in 3D. Problem is, people think 3D means polygons, no pixels. But if you zoom in, you can see what polygons are actually made of, because 3D isn't real, your screen is flat. So if you want to turn this into this, you need to do some math. If you ditched middle school geometry and don't know what's going on, just imagine you're this dot and you have a ray gun with unlimited ammo. But instead of hurting anybody, your gun has an iPad on it, and anything you shoot will have its picture show up on the screen, and it'll get bigger or smaller depending on how close you are. But now, make your ray gun into a shotgun, so you can load as many pictures for as many rays that you're casting. And now you've just invented a 3D game. Which means if this doesn't count as 3D because it's just math on a computer, then this also doesn't count as 3D because it's just better math on a better computer. But even with the best computers and millions of dollars, 3D still isn't easy. So if you're programming an entire video game with nothing but a calculator and the screen's gonna be flat anyway, why would you run crazy trigonometry functions every single frame when you could just lie about it? Because this is a 2D shape and now it's in 3D. You can add some stuff to it to make you think you're getting a Z-axis, but even games built with a Z-axis are still flat on your screen, meaning this is just as 3D as this, but doing this won't light a computer on fire in 1983. So it all comes down to how you want to define 3D. If you draw the line at polygons, then these games don't count anymore, but these games do. And if 3D is actually about a moving camera, these don't count anymore either. Then we have FMVs, fighting games, and whatever this is. But the more 3D games you play, the harder it gets to define 3D. Because Sonic 3D Blast fits all the requirements for a 3D game. You've got 3D models, a dynamic camera, and you can move in 3 dimensions. Even if you don't count the special stages, the thing has 3D in its name. It's a different kind of 3D, but its gameplay is still more 3D than this entire island in Sonic Frontiers. Even in a game like this, if you take away the flashy graphics, this is basically the same thing. And who's to say the third dimension even needs to be the Z-axis? Which means we could call this a 4D game if we wanted to. And then we have this thing where we have the best possible transition of this into this.
It's okay, I guess.
So really the only reason Sonic games end up stuck here or here actually has nothing to do with 3D at all, because you can't take a game like this and just rotate the camera to represent the same game, but in 3D. It's okay to just say you like or don't like a game. Because if these games really are all about these things, why do people love this game when they hate the exploration levels, only a third of the game lets you run fast, and most of the replayability is just in one stage so you can get enough rings for a hat your Chow won't even wear? Compared to this game, which was built around exploration, lots of momentum platforming, and over 300 ways to play the game.
It's okay, I guess.
This game really just got lucky. Early 3D games were just a bunch of developers trying to follow the trend to the point they changed the definition of 3D just to sell more games or start fan wars. 3D games should be different from their 2D games because controlling 3 dimensions is different than controlling only 2. The basic premise could be similar, but just because one 3D game is better received than another 3D game doesn't mean the better game is also a more accurate transition from 2D. And changing everything about a franchise to make it work in 3D doesn't always pay off. Nobody could know Mario 64 would work as well as it did, which is why there's so many ways to control 3D platformers, because everybody was just trying something different to see what sticks. So it doesn't make sense to keep comparing games to Mario 64 when they weren't even trying to be Mario 64, especially with this game.